เป็นวันที่27 เดือนมีนาคม 2023 พวกข้าพเจ้าคณะองค์การพัฒนาเพื่อประชาธิปไตยในเราได้เดินทางมาเข้าร่วมกองประชุมของสหประชาชาติทางด้านการพัฒนาแบบนิยมสำหรับเขตอาเซียนแปซิฟิกซึ่งเพิ่งจัดขึ้นในอาทิตย์นี้ตั้งแต่วันนี้เป็นต้นไปสถานที่แห่งนี้ก็เป็นอยู่ที่นครหลวงบางกอกประเทศไทยพวกข้าพเจ้ามาเข้าร่วมมือทวิตซึ่งว่ามื้อนี้ก็เป็นว่าทานจะซุปเปอร์กำลังจัดใช้อีเวนต์ขึ้นในสถานที่แห่งนี้อยู่ซันลุ่มทางด้านหลังพวกท่านจะเห็นอันนี้เป็นประวัติของสหประชาชาติกองประชุมสหประชาชาติที่เอิ้นว่า ESCAP United Nations ESCAP มันแม่นสหประชาชาติที่รับผิดชอบในเขตอาเซียนแปซิฟิกที่ได้เพิ่นกล่าวถึงการพัฒนาแบบนิยมเขตอาเซียนแปซิฟิกก็หมายว่าเขตอาเซียนตะวันออกเฉียงใต้นับทั้งประเทศเราท่านที่เห็นประวัติศาสตร์ของสหประชาชาติตั้งแต่ 1947 ถึง 1959 สหประชาชาติได้เห็นอย่างใดให้แก่การพัฒนาแบบนิยมพวกท่านจะได้เห็นเนาะอยู่ในนี้จะมีกัมพูชาลาวไทยเวียดนามไปเขตแม่น้ำโขงกรรมการแม่น้ำโขงท่านจะได้เกี่ยวข้องและการปัญหาอื่นหลายอย่างที่เราถึงเนาะ1960 และ 1970 จากนั้น 1980 1990 ปี 2000 ถึง 2010 หมายความว่าสหประชาชาติได้มีการขยายโครงการเคลื่อนไหวของเพิ่นในแต่ละด้านหลายขึ้นไปนับมือทุกๆปีพวกท่านจะเห็นในปี 2010 แต่ละด้านก็หลายขึ้นฉะนั้นพวกท่านจะได้เห็นว่าสหประชาชาติโมเมนต์เพื่อสิตั้งขึ้นแล้วสิอยู่แต่บอนเก่าหมายความว่าแต่ละปีเพิ่นขยายขึ้นก้าวหน้าขึ้นใดสิได้ช่วยให้ประชาคมประเทศต่างๆอยู่ในเขตอาเซียนแปซิฟิกก็คืออยู่ในโลกนับมือนับดีขึ้นตอนเช้านี้พวกเขาก็ได้เข้าร่วมกองประชุมที่ว่าเพิ่นได้เปิดรายการจัดกองประชุมขึ้นแล้วเพิ่นก็มีการรายการกองประชุมต่างๆพวกท่านจะได้เห็นในทีวีถ่ายทอดสดของกองประชุมสหประชาชาตินี่แหละเนาะพวกท่านอยู่ทางเว็บไซต์เดี๋ยวพวกเรากำลังเริ่มจะเข้าการกะเตรียมจัดไซต์ที่อีเวนต์ซึ่งแม่นท่านจะสุเปิดเป็นคุณที่จัดขึ้นในปัจจุบันติดตามรายการข่าวของพวกเราต่อไปขอขอบใจสบาย
Scorecard is one of those ways to substantiate, which Anjan was going to discuss. The other barrier of participation is of funding for the civil society, either for writing BNR or being or participate in the
the last PDR, the government has not allowed the independent CSO. The people don't have any right of assembly, any right of internet. The control of internet very hard for the people. You can see here, we have any CSO directly from Laos. We can work only in underground. My question for you, how can we work for the SDG when people don't have right to organizing something? The government has enough international aid to against poverty, but the people are now poor and poorer. Why? Too much corruption in every level of administration. Thank you.
Thank you again for this question. If you will make it in 5 seconds. Try.
No, I just have a couple of comments to make. So
go ahead.
All right. So the goals under review model we understand is flawed by design because it leaves many perspectives behind, both regarding actions during the last VNR. So those who are presenting third and fourth time, if there's nothing on the last recommended actions, then it's a one step forward, 2 steps back situation. The other thing is the regional VNRs that need to be systemized so that sub-regions and countries could share progress as well as benefit from best practices and could be perhaps systematically paired together beyond traditional alliances so that technical expertise, etc., could be shared for better progress, visibly preparation for EHLPF. And then this transformative conceptualization of the SDG 16 that we've seen, 17 is reviewed every year, but MOI continues to be MIA. I think goal 16 would also be one that should be reviewed everywhere so that while you're trying to mobilize MOIs at the global level, you can also see how the national structures are shaping. So once you have the governance strengthening applied at the national level, it is going to have a complementarity effect across, regardless of the fact what goals are under review in what year. Thank you.
Thanks, and I'm sure Ajay has some comments on that because there are questions on how to perceive and move on this. So I'm going to leave it at that and come back to the panel first if any of you have any quick 30-second kind of responses.
Thank you so much. As far as taking SDG 16 for review, FEA is concerned, UN discussed this during the last 2 years within the process of the UN HLPF reforms, but that proposal was defeated. No country wants to put more burden on them, and no country wants to review SDG 16 itself. It's a big issue for them. So one is that. My small submission is that let's pressure our government to incorporate right to development in the VNR reports. And right to development is the exact placeholder for principles like leave no one behind, multi-stakeholder engagement, meaningful participation. And why I'm saying this, because the SDG conversation has completely eclipsed the right to development conversation. And when you have something getting universal, no country is under burden to do anything. Everybody has to do it on their own. So the more pressure we build for incorporating elements of right to development, there will be more focus on most of the marginalized, and maybe developed countries will be also under a little more burden to provide finance, technology, capacity building to the developing countries. Thanks.
Thanks, Ajay, for that. I like that you brought right to development back into the discourse. I thought it was already in the archives of the UN. So thank you for that. Anybody else wants to respond to? Yes, there was something directly to you. Anselm, I'll ask you and Josna to come together. Yes, ma'am.
So thanks for the question. I think mainly the whatever the implementation make it effective unless there's the data, and I think many countries, including Cambodia, be challenging on how those data really represent the reality, because as civil society we will be only talking, implementing in some area. It's not just the countrywide. So the problem is, as our speaker mentioned, it needs to be the government who has its own data and how it reflects reality. It should be publicly, disclose those data, because it's very hard for us to monitor on the indicator because we don't know how much the government implemented and how can we get those information to really monitoring. And when coming to the multi-stakeholder acceptance, I can say it's very hard because SDG is not for the government alone or for the UN alone. It's for everybody. But when coming to talk about the acceptance or how multi-stakeholder can do it, normally civil society in many countries has been rejected to be part of the process. And last point about commitment of the government and how it rating. Mostly, I saw many reactions toward the country. For example, Alpha show the independent index. But I think we continue to do the work because it's very important on how to rate each country to at least we know where we are, even though we got reaction from the government, it's not reflect the reality. But the way it's supposed to be, we cannot stop doing it and just let the thing go as if like the principle, nothing happens. Thank you.
I like your die-hard attitude. We keep going. Yes.
Hello everybody. So just in the question on SDG 6, you must ensure that health and water and education are all interlinked, and this means providing wash facilities especially for women and girls to go through their menstrual needs, and this should also be disability accessible wash needs. And then just to end, I think we need to remember that the SDGs and the whole 2030 agenda is really for all of us, and it's also especially for those who are furthest behind. And I think they're so far removed from the processes that we neglect to present.
All countries based on democratic principles, respect for human rights, good governance, and of course, sustainability. The EU's engagement in the Asia Pacific is not diminished by Russia's illegal and unjustifiable aggression against Ukraine in blatant disregard for the UN Charter. The EU wishes to strengthen its partnerships across Asia. For example, Southeast Asia, we were very pleased to host recently the first ever EU-ASEAN Commemorative Summit in Brussels. The EU continues its trade agenda in the region, with negotiations on an FTA to be resumed with Thailand later this year, joining ongoing negotiations with Australia and Indonesia. Others are on the way. The EU Global Gateway is a new way of combining the strengths of the European Union and its member states with those of the financial institutions and the private sector to help partner countries with their infrastructural investments in a sustainable way, economically, environmentally, and politically sustainable. Let us work together. The European Union Green Deal encourages sustainable production and consumption. With partner countries across Asia, we want to build green alliances and partnerships against climate change and biodiversity loss. I wish to highlight 3 key programs. First, the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, helping 120 cities across Asia to improve their local climate actions under their national contributions. Second, Switch Asia, supporting sustainable production and consumption, helping over 80,000 SMEs across 41 countries in Asia. Third, the Global Spotlight Initiative with the UN, supporting the ending of violence against women and girls. With the European Union's €500 million and working with many UN agencies, there is today greater awareness of the problem. There is more action across countries. There are an estimated 21 million fewer women and girls affected by gender-based violence. The EU response to COVID-19. The EU and its member states have allocated €54 billion to help 140 countries globally. We've been a leading donor to COVAX and have sent over 1.4 billion vaccine doses globally. In Southeast Asia, we've given €20 million to the WHO to support healthcare systems. This EU engagement is not new.
Standard infrastructure projects that deliver real economic benefits while protecting the environment and internationally recognized workers' rights. And we championed the launch of G7's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, PGII, including to mobilize $600 billion by 2027 to help low and middle income countries invest in infrastructure. We support SG11 through programs like USAID's locally led urban sustainability, which helps countries develop more sustainable, equitable, healthy, and prosperous cities. And in the same vein, the State Department's recently announced the new representative for city and state diplomacy, sub-nations collaboration, and share best practices and promote sustainable cities. Thank you very much, and we look forward to collaborating with all of the countries in this region to achieve the SDGs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stelgert.